Good evening, everybody. Thank you for joining in. Hello, hi. I'm super glad to have all of you today. Happy Republic Day. I'm just going to wait for a couple of more minutes so that everybody is in the room, and then we get started with our today's session. Welcome, everyone. Today, we're going to look at that why speaking in English will boost your confidence as a lawyer. That is the topic for today's discussion. So before I start, I would like to have a quick understanding about my audience. How many of you are students here and how many of you are working professionals? You can maybe just give your quick introduction in the chat, perhaps, about yourself. All right. All right. So just by the way, to give you an introduction about myself, I am Vanita Bhatnagar. I work as a legal editor at 𝘆Sikho. To those of you who are new here, new to the 𝘆Sikho, 𝘆Sikho is India's leading online education company that creates advanced and practical legal courses. We also have customized training programs catering to lawyers and leading businesses and universities. Now, our courses are in mergers and acquisitions, IPR, civil and criminal litigation, arbitration, and a host of other things. Now, the entire purpose of 𝘆Sikho is primarily to bridge the gap between theory and practice in legal education. So that was about 𝘆Sikho. You guys can also introduce yourself in the chat box. I would just like to understand from you guys that, whether you are a student or a working professional. Also, I would like to know from you, how many of you are actively speaking at public events? We're going to talk a lot about communication in today's conversation. So a quick understanding from all of you. Are you good at, how would you rate yourself? Are you good at public speaking? Not good at public speaking? You feel shy, you feel nervous, or, you think you're amazing at public speaking, whatever is it. Have you guys participated in any moot court competitions, MUNs, parliamentary debates, anything? Share your experiences, share your insights. You can keep letting me know in the chat box. Tell me if you have participated in any public. Okay, so how many of you have participated in any event that required them to speak publicly? Yes or no in the chat box, quickly. You can say yes if you've participated at a public event where you were required to speak publicly. You can say no if you've not participated yet. Good afternoon, everyone. All right, so I understand that most of you have participated in one or the other kind of an event. Now, how does that make you feel after you have given your speech successfully? How do you feel? Is it like adrenaline rush, molecules running up and down? How does it feel? How do you feel about yourself when you've delivered a good speech? Not just that, I mean, I think when we are able to communicate effectively, whether this be at a public event or even normally among peers, do you instantly feel confident about yourself? Yes or no? If you relate, say yes. If you do not relate with me, say no. Quickly in the chat box. I mean, it's not about your everyday conversations, but typically when we are trying to prove a point in an argument, or, when we are having a difficult conversation, if you're able to communicate effectively, we instantly feel good about ourselves. We instantly feel confident. Do you relate with this? Yes or no? All right, I think most of you relate with what I'm saying. So I'm glad. Now, why we are developing this connection is that when we are able to put out across what we think, what we feel, when we are able to express ourselves very openly to people, we instantly start feeling confident, because whatever we are believing in, whatever is our belief, we are able to express that properly. And whenever it doesn't happen, we kind of, the first thought that we get is that, I'm not confident. And why do we say that? We say that because we are not able to express ourselves clearly, right? How many of you think here that speaking good English is necessary for lawyers? Do you think speaking good English is necessary for lawyers, or you think you can do away with the language? Yes or no? I mean, completely your perspective. All right, most of you think that it's very necessary. That's correct. Now, do you also think that it is the most important skill for a lawyer? And I use the word skill here very intentionally, because it's not about that, you have to be born as a good communicator or good at a particular language. You don't have to be born with it. You can acquire it. So therefore, I call it as a skill very intentionally. So in my understanding, as a lawyer, you will be required to interact with corporate clients, senior lawyers. Okay, you'll be required to present your matter before different high courts, supreme courts, any court, right? And the way you're communicating, the way you're able to deliver your client's perspective is the most important thing, right? So the only thing that's going to come to your rescue in any adversarial situation, be it in front of a judge or be it with your client or be it with your own boss, everything boils down to just one thing, that is having good communication skills. Is everyone with me so far? You all agree? Do you all agree? The most important aspect here of a good communication is self-confidence. Okay, so first we established how communication is important. We also established what is the connection between self-confidence and communication. When we are able to communicate effectively, we instantly feel confident about ourselves, right? And to develop good communication skills, again, it is highly dependent on your self-confidence. If you lose confidence, we are done with, right? Clients will not trust you, judges will not buy your arguments, seniors will be hesitant to give you work. Why? Because you're not self-confident. Quickly in the chat box, maybe, what do you think, what is self-confident? We might all have different perceptions about the word. Whatever it is, maybe you would want to share in the chat box. For me, when I look at self-confidence, I think self-confidence is a belief in your own self to achieve anything. No matter the odds, no matter the adversity, you tell yourself that, you know what, I can do this. What do you think is self-confidence for you? It's only when you are able to bet on yourself, others will also bet on it, right? Why would a client pay you, or why would a judge agree with your point of view until and unless you have self-confidence, right? Until unless you yourself do not believe in yourself. If you're not believing in yourself, why will anybody else believe in you, right? So we are going to unbox how do we build self-confidence, right? How do we develop good communication skills? This is what we're going to look at. But before that, before we go into the more details of this, I want to quickly understand from all of you, how many of you feel nervous while speaking to a senior, or while having a conversation in a formal setup, maybe while speaking to a client in front of a judge? How many of you feel shy? Okay, all right. So I think a couple of you are also shy, right? So see, we all are shy whenever we are made to put in an uncomfortable situation, right? So there's the one attendee is saying that they have their debate on the 30th. They are not shy, but they fear that they will fumble. All right, so we're going to look into all of these elements, right? Sometimes we are an extrovert person, we can hold conversations, but we fear that we will make a mistake, we will make some mistake in the argument, we will make some mistake maybe while pronouncing a particular word, maybe by maybe we are not able to present our argument that effectively before the judge, we'll make some sort of a mistake, and because of that we are very fearful. Does that happen with you guys? I mean, it used to happen with me when I used to participate in moot court competitions. So whenever I'm appearing for my rounds, I will always be very nervous that, I just don't want to make any mistake. Does that happen, that before speaking in public, like before making your argument or making your point, before a client or in the courtroom, you don't want to you want to be sure that the argument that you're making is flawless and there are no mistakes, right? So I'm going to discuss a couple of techniques. First is that to build your confidence, there's one very simple key that you have to do. Very, very simple thing. Okay, just practice. There's no magic button, like, if you do this, something will happen, but simple practice, just practice. If you're presenting an argument before a judge, you need to prepare your notes beforehand. If you're preparing for a competition, you need to be well prepared. Your confidence and your preparation, both are directly proportional to each other. The better your preparation is, the more confident you'll feel. Why? Because you know what you're speaking about. You believe in yourself, right? It just reaffirms the entire thought process. You know what you're saying before the judge. You know when to raise a rebut. You know what probable questions can be asked by the judge to you, and you know how to respond to them, right? You believe in yourself to handle particular matter before the court, or you trust yourself. You know that you will be able to deal with the questions that come forward from your client. You're confident about the whole process. And how does that happen? How does that confidence come from to appear before the court or to deal with clients? This comes from your preparation. If your preparation is good, if your preparation is solid, you know that you'll be able to answer all the questions that are thrown at you because you know your matter inside out. However, if you're not well prepared, if you've not, let's say you're appearing for a moot court competition and you are not pretty familiar with maybe pronunciation of few words, maybe you're not familiar with sentence structuring, maybe you're not familiar with case laws on the point that you're making before the judge, right? There might be certain gaps. If you're not prepared, it's going to show in your delivery, right? You're not going to be confident. You're going to keep worrying about it. What if the judges ask me the facts of this case? I don't know this, right? So, and then you will fumble. Then you will make mistakes. Why? Because you don't know what to say, how to say. You're not clear about maybe the pronunciation, maybe your speech, right? So one of the most important things, and a very basic thing, is just practice, right? You should know very clearly what are you saying and in which order. So if you're presenting your arguments before the judge, you should be aware about that. This is my argument. I've split my argument into 3 parts. First, I will make this point, then this, and then this, and then whatever questions. And I'm also prepared for the questions because I have done my research well, right? You can also put it other way around by saying repetition. So whatever you're doing, you need to constantly repeat it a couple of times to gain mastery. Okay. So when we see a particular cricketer or a footballer playing on the screen, right? We're just astonished by how well are they playing on screen, right? But we're not privy to the amount of practice shots they are taking to come to that level. Okay, so maybe when you're starting out, you might not be that confident. You might feel that probably I'm not that good at what I'm doing. But all of that will happen eventually when you are constantly practicing, when you're constantly repeating what you're supposed to do, right? So you can put yourself in situations where you feel the pressure, okay? Because pressure makes diamonds. So when I interact with a lot of my students, some of them say that, we don't participate in competitions because we are very nervous. We are very shy. So we just do not participate in competitions. We completely avoid situations where the entire focus light is on us. Do you think that will help them grow? No, that will always hinder, because as lawyers, we need to communicate. I mean, we cannot really do without it. You'll have to interact with your clients. You'll have to ask them questions so that you're able to gather more information, right? You will also have to be able to present your arguments before the judge so that the judge is able to understand what you're saying. And all of this is not merely dependent upon your legal knowledge. It also requires good communication skills. If you're not able to build good communication skills, everything will fall apart, right? So building good communication skills is very necessary. And for that, you should be prepared to make mistakes, right? Somebody just mentioned in the chat that, they're worried about if they fumble. It's okay. First, you be prepared so that once you've already practiced yourself a couple of times, you in those practice sessions only you fumbled a lot, so that by the time you're giving your final presentation, you're super confident. You've done this in front of different people. You've done this in front of your peers, in front of your friends, in maybe at home, maybe with your seniors. You've practiced it a couple of times so that you already have made many mistakes during your preparation sessions only, so that on your final day, on your main event day, you're not making that many mistakes, right? The second thing is that you're not scared of mistakes. Even if you make a mistake, that's not going to decide your destiny, right? It's okay. You made a mistake, you learn from the mistake, and then you move ahead. I mean, imagine, we all know about Edison and J.K. Rowling, right? They failed so many times before they had their breakthrough. Imagine if we wouldn't have been able to read Harry Potter. J.K. Rowling had given up, right? When she was rejected by so many publishers. So do not let that failure get to you. If, let's say, at performing at an event, or let's say while arguing before a judge, you think that, your argument wasn't that good, or you made certain mistakes, maybe not in your legal knowledge, but in terms of your delivery, you need to be aware about that. Okay, you need to pick your mistakes and then work on it. Okay, you don't have to bail out on yourself. Don't do that. I think many of us bail out when we witness a failure. We bail out when we witness an adversity, right? But then if we bail out, we will not get through the process, right? And we will not achieve the success that we want for ourselves. So put yourself in difficult situations, put yourself in a situations where you feel the pressure. Okay, as I just said, pressures make diamonds. So put yourself in those situations, put yourself at places where you have to deliver difficult talks. Okay, let's say if you, even when you're interning, okay, and there is a matter that is coming up, probably you would want to at least have some interaction with the client. Okay, if there is anything that you can do at that level to appear before the judge, you would want to make that happen, right? You would, if not at front of the judge, first you'll have to win your senior over. You'll have to convince your senior that, why even at this level you are good to take forward the client negotiation, or maybe, speak to the client and get the relevant information out. And all of this you'll be able to do if you're able to communicate effectively, right? You need to be persistent with your efforts, and you need to keep practicing yourself in different situations. So you can, so let's say, for example, if you only talk about client negotiations, maybe you want to give yourself different situations. Ask, one of your peers can become a client, and then they'll come with the problem to you. What are the different questions that you will ask? You need to prepare yourself with those situations. Then only you will be confident in an actual client interaction, right? So at our course at 𝘆𝚻, these are some of the trainings that we give to our student, where we are actually putting them in the limelight, where we are actually giving them all these exercises where they develop to communicate with clients or to appear before the judge, right? Another thing, so these are the couple of things that I just mentioned, that, you have to be persistent, and you have to practice a lot, and you should be okay with making mistakes, right? I'm not, so also when I'm saying that, you need to be okay with making mistakes, I'm not saying that you sleep over those mistakes, right? So when you're making a mistake, pick yourself up. Know that here I have made an error. Know that, I made a grammatical mistake, maybe, or maybe my pronunciation was not correct. Maybe I was not fluent while delivering a particular talk. Be self-aware so that you can work on those mistakes eventually, right? If you don't see your mistakes, if you're not able to see where the fault lies, you will not be able to work on it. So like I was mentioning, there are a lot of my students who do not actually participate in competitions, or they're very shy when they have to speak to a client, or when they have to go before a judge. They're very shy with the entire process. They feel very anxious. Now in those situations, if they actually do not get themselves familiarized with the whole thing, if they actually not do it, they'll always be scared. And they will also never know what are the real mistakes that they're making. It's just a mental roadblock. Understanding that, I'm scared, I feel nervous, I feel shy, but beyond that, what are the real mistakes that you are making? And you'll only be able to identify those real mistakes when you're actually doing the thing that is required. Then you will be able to catch yourself and say that, oh yeah, I did this wrong, I shouldn't have spoken this way, maybe, right? Or maybe, I shouldn't have delivered this news to my client in this tone, right? So only when you putting yourself in different situations in difficult times, you'll be able to understand what are the gaps, what are the mistakes that you're making, and then from there you just have to fix those mistakes, right? How many of you agree with me what I just said? And you can keep posting it in the chat box. If you agree, you can say yes. If you do not agree, you can just say a no. All right. Another very important thing is that you need to avoid negative self-talk. Okay. I'm sure we all have heard that our thoughts influence our actions. And why do we have to do this negative self-talk? So I'm sure all of us, like, just right before any particular event, any particular competition, anything, right? There's a small talk going in our head always. I might not be able to do this. I might just make some mistake here. I don't know if I'm good enough to do this task, right? It keeps bickering. Does that happen with you guys also? I'm sure it happens with most of us. You can just say yes or no, right? So when this is happening, you need to catch yourself and stop that behavior, because negative self-talk will not help anybody, right? The problem with negative self-talk is that not necessarily you, until unless you've actually been in that situation, even you don't know how good you are, right? But if you're having a negative self-talk, you are taking your power from your own self, right? Instead of that, catch yourself, notice that behavior, and turn it into self-affirmation by saying that, you know what, I'm good at it. I'm good at my English. My English is good. I can communicate well. I know how to communicate with clients. I know how to deliver before a judge. I know how to raise an objection to my opposing counsel. I know how to do these things. When you're telling positive things to yourself, when your affirmations are in a positive direction, you also feel the power to do so. Having said that, I'm definitely not saying that, you become overconfident and just have this belief, oh yeah, I'm the best. That's not what I'm saying. Okay. Instead, just catch yourself when you're having a negative self-talk and just convert them into a positive belief, a belief in yourself that, you know what, okay, maybe I don't know all the pronunciations right now, maybe I don't know all the grammar rules for right now, but I will get to know that. I will learn those grammar rules. Okay, maybe my active voice and passive voice, I sometimes maybe mix them up, but that's okay. I'm aware and I'm going to work on this, right? So all of those things are very important. You need to catch yourself. You need to catch yourself, identify that, uh, stop that negative self-talk, and then work on your whatever gaps that you identified. You need to work on them, right? You need to be self-aware, right? Someone's asking how to overcome self-confidence. Now, again, this is also very similar to what I just discussed, that you have to catch yourself. Now here, what happens is that when you're overconfident, you might not realize that you're being overconfident, right? And the problem with overconfidence is that it will never allow you to see your mistakes, because you are in a bubble of believing that everything that is happening is good, right? Everything that I'm saying is on point. So just to come out of that bubble, you should ask for feedback. Ask for people, how do you think my speech was today? How do you think my delivery was there before the judge? You need to have good friends. You need to have a good peer support system where you can constantly ask that, what do you think about my speech? And then openly accept that. So be open to negative. So you will realize that a lot of overconfident people are not good at accepting critique. Okay, they're not open to critical feedback. Why? Because they already think that they're good at it. So when you're believing in yourself, you also need to believe in others, how others think about you, right? You also need to give value to their opinion and ask for feedback. You'll identify that, if there are certain gaps in your speech, you'll be able to catch your mistakes and work on those, right? Someone's asking that, but sometimes we didn't find the correct word to express our thought. That time, what we should do? All right. So maybe you're not able to find that word in English language. So again, there are a couple of ways to tackle this. Okay. One is at the very instance, okay, when you're delivering, when you're speaking. So if you're not able to identify the correct word, you might want to take a pause. Okay. Slow down. It's not always necessary that you have to be very fast. And this happens when we are not calm, right? So I'm going to talk about this in a couple of situations. So the first situation that I'm addressing right now is when you're actually delivering the talk. So maybe while you're presenting your arguments before the judge, or maybe when you're speaking to a client and you're not able to find the word that would be exact to what you would want to express. In those situations, number one is to be very calm headed. Okay, your brain works better when you're calm. Okay, if you'll make it anxious, your brain start believing, oh, I don't know anything, I can't perform, right? So all of the things that I've been talking throughout in the conversations are related to each other. So first, there should be no negative self-talk. First, you need to believe in yourself that I can recall that word. Just take a moment, pause, breathe, think about it, and then say the word, right? And if you can't pick the exact word, maybe whatever comes to your mind nearby, and you can always say, for the lack of better word, here's what I think would be appropriate to say at this moment, right? The another thing is, what happens with a lot of us is that we have a huge vocabulary in the sense that we know a lot of words. We have read them somewhere, we know their meaning, but when it comes to recalling them in a speech, we are unable to do that. Okay, like for example, perplexed. We all know the meaning of perplexed, but hardly you will see that, when it comes to using the word in the conversations, we mostly use confused, right? We don't actually use the word perplexed, right? But to pick that, you will have to work on using the words that you already know, right? So look for the words. So let's say while reading a newspaper, you come across a word that you know of, but you are also aware that, you've actually never used this word in a conversation. And maybe and why you're not using this word in a conversation could be for a couple of reasons. One of them could be maybe you're not familiar with the pronunciation. Therefore, there is no muscle power to recall that word. So maybe you want to be very clear with the pronunciation of the words that you're using. Number two, you should also know how to use those words in a sentence. So sometimes I know a word, but I can't actually use it in a conversation because I don't know how to frame a sentence from that word. So these are the little things that you might want to practice. So when you're practicing, like I mentioned in the conversation, practice is the key to building your self-confidence. And to develop fluent speaking abilities, you have to practice a lot. And for practicing, this is another technique that you can follow. Think about the words. So maybe, you want to every day, just before ending your work day or ending your college, you want to figure out what are the different words that you saw today for which you know the meaning of, but you're not able to use them in your conversation, right? And make a sentence out of that word. Practice that a couple of times. When I say practice, you speak it aloud so that, you're more confident with that word. And the moment you're more confident with that word, you'll automatically be able to use it in your everyday life. Right? Now I'm going to brief you on, so this was one part of it. Okay. The other part is we're going to look at how do we identify the gaps? How do we identify at what level we are? So I think I've mentioned this a couple of times during my sessions, that learning communication is an ongoing process. So at whatever level you are, intern, student, professional, senior professional, at whatever level you are working, there's always so much to learn about communication. But I think, in my personal opinion, we are actually not giving a lot of time to learn communications. That is why there are uncountable gaps. Okay, so to work on your communication, number first is the realization that it's an ongoing process. You'll have to constantly invest in your communication skills to make them better, right? I mean, see, our clothes are not always clean and shiny until unless we do them on a regular basis. So every time you're wearing them, you have to wash them, you have to iron them, you have to keep them properly, right? This is a rule that's applicable to anything in our life, right? Similarly to your communication skills as well, they will not develop on its own, right? Just like you have to water the plants, similarly you also have to invest in your communication skills to make them better. You have to spend time, you have to spend your energy on intentionally and constantly towards making an effort to improve your communication, right? You can also do it by yourself, or if you think that you are at a level where you want to invest in a course, you can also do that. Entirely your call, but the important part is that you realize that how important communication skills are and you're constantly investing in it. Then comes number two. Okay, number two is that once you've established the fact that, okay, I need to work on my communication skills, you need to identify your goal. What is your goal? How well do you want to be in communication? Like, let's say, for example, my only goal is that I want to be good at writing skills. I should be able to write papers at different digital media houses, and I think if I'm able to do that, I'm good at my communication. I don't need to interact with clients, I don't need to understand non-verbal communications. For me, at this level, it is only about being able to write good articles and getting them published at different digital medias. If I'm able to do that, I'm sorted, right? For somebody else, it could be that, what, I want to be able to negotiate with my clients very effectively. Okay, I don't care about going writing. All I care about is that I want to deliver value to my clients, and I want to be able to during my conversations with my client, I want to ensure that they are happy with my services, right? They are elated with the entire conversation that I have with them. So depending upon whatever your objective is, depending upon at whatever level our communication, again, is very personal. It is personal to all of us. Few people are pro at it, few people maybe at a beginner's level. Therefore, there can't be like a one formula suiting everyone. It's depending on at what level you are, and identifying your gaps. So for someone, it could be working on their grammatical skills. Someone, it could be vocabulary skills. And why I'm saying skills again and again is because this is acquired. So no matter at whatever level you are, and no matter whatever the gap it is, you can always acquire, right? And then you need to start building your so once you've identified the gap, then you have to start building yourself in that direction. How do you do that? So for instance, let's say I've realized that my grammar is not that good, so my vocabulary is fine, everything is fine, but for now I need to work on my grammar. So maybe what I'll do in that situation is, since we all are out of school now, there's no English teacher that's available to us, I would want to again figure out what is the level of my grammar. Is it something that I'm able to solve on my own, or I would need an external help? And there is no harm in it. I mean, a lot of time I've also seen that students don't want to learn grammar after a point. They kind of think that it's beneath them. I mean, probably they'll just read something on Google, and then they think that's all they need. So learning grammar at any age cannot be beneath you if you understand the value that it will deliver to you, right? And So you need to understand that, okay, maybe I'm not a native speaker of the language, and there are certain challenges that I face when writing or speaking. I make glaring grammatical errors. You need to be aware about it, and you need to work on it. See, when you're writing, every time you will not get a proofreader who will just proofread and tell you that, this is where you made a grammatical mistake. Specifically, if you're writing online, if you're writing on digital media platforms, okay, if you're constantly writing on LinkedIn, maybe to build your brand, to build your presence, you need to be aware about the kind of errors that you're making, right? So for that, you need to identify what is the gravity of those errors. If it's too much than what you're making, probably you would want to consider taking a formal course. If not, maybe you want to rely on online sources that are available. But at the end of the day, you also need to practice. Okay, you need to keep practicing again and again so that you are acquainted with your basic grammar rules. Then you might want to test it. Okay, so learning is not complete until unless you're not testing yourself, because without test you'll never know how much have you grasped, right? So both these things are important. You're taking steps to learn as well, but you're also taking steps to assess yourself, to test yourself. How can you do that? You can start writing articles and submit it at different forums. Okay, so at iPleaders, we invite guest posts as well. Also, the students who are enrolled in our programs for whichever courses, we train them to write better. We review their articles, we mentor what kind of a content can they write, and all of that guidance is given to the students. And when we are pointing out at the grammatical errors as well, they get an idea about the kind of mistakes that they make. So that could be one. Other could be, maybe you're just writing on yourself, and you can use Grammarly to see what are the major errors that you make every time. Okay, like for instance, a lot of time people say, I will reply back to your message, which is incorrect, right? The usage of word back is redundant here in the sentence. I mean, reply in itself means that the person is going to get back to you. Okay, so these are very little things, but it's important to be aware about them and figure out a process to fix them. All right, I'll just take a couple of questions from the chat. So Lokendra is asking, is it mandatory to use legal maxims while arguing to reflect an impressive argument or submission? In my humble opinion, I think no. Okay, you don't have to rely on legal maxims to prove your point. I mean, of course, see, so legal English is different than your plain English that you usually use. Legal English is like slightly more formal, and it's a kind of a language that is commonly used amongst lawyers, right? So if you're aware about that legal maxim, use it, flaunt it, there is no problem. But if you're not, don't think that that's going to hinder the process of your delivery. Okay, because what matters here is, are you able to make your point efficiently? So we are not using legal maxims because they are fancy. Again, language, any language that we're using it to express our thought, to put across what we feel about a particular point, right? So legal maxim, if you think this maxim is able to convey my thought process clearly, that is why we are using it. So if it comes handy to you, very good. If it doesn't come handy to you and there is another phrase that you can use to effectively express yourself, that is also good enough. Okay, I hope that answers your question, Lokendra. Ashok is asking how to build confidence as a student. Again, number one is to participate yourself, to participate in various competitions. Okay, at college level, Ashok, I would also like to clarify, want a little clarification from you here. Is it at a school level or a college level? But largely, be it at a school level or a college level, there are a plethora of options that are given to us to build our confidence in form of different activities, right? That keeps happening. So sign up for every activity. Sign up for moot courts, sign up for parliamentary debates, sign up for MUNs, client counseling, any event that is happening in your college. Make maximum use of that opportunity by participating. It will familiarize you with the different forms of speaking. Okay, so the way you speak in a moot court is different from the way you speak in a parliamentary debate, is different from any other kind of a debate, right? Parliamentary debates are different, right? Also, you might want to participate in MUNs. The entire form of negotiations there are very different, right? So you participate in a lot of competitions. Okay, like I said, put yourself under pressure. Anything that tells you, Ashok, that I can't do this, do it. That will help you in gaining confidence, right? And again, I'm not saying that you just tell yourself do it and then you jump into it. No, once you have told yourself that okay, I will do this, you figure out how to prepare for that competition. If you're signing up for a moot court, speak to 10 people, figure out how you can come out as the best person. How can your preparation be super robust? Invest time in preparation. Okay. Surgeon is asking, can we participate in moot court after graduation too? I mean, happen at college level only, but I really can't recall any competition that I'm aware of that happens for postgraduate students. Okay, not aware currently, but probably you might want to check on the internet for this, right? There might be some options. So yeah, but you know, instead of that, I understand probably if you're trying to do this to work on your skills, on your communication skills in front of the judge, if that is the objective behind this activity, what you're looking for, then maybe you want to test try doing it in front of your seniors, right? Maybe you want to, so you would want to observe lawyers around you, how they are appearing in the court, how are they starting their submissions. So as an intern, when I used to go to the trial court or the high court, my senior used to ask me to just keep a notepad handy, and he would just say that, you know what, come to the court, just sit and observe me, observe people around me. At that point in time, I found it pretty lame because I didn't really get the objective. Like, what do I do looking at you? Instead, I used to keep scrolling in my phone. But then after a year or so, I realized that this is important, because when I will be going there to speak before a judge, I will be slightly clueless until unless I've gotten used to the process. I would want to first understand, how do I begin my argument? What would be my opening sentence? How do I respond to the judge's questions? What is the first word that I say, right? You want to be aware about those nitty-gritties. For that, you visit courts and look at the proceedings before the court. Currently, when the courts are held in the virtual forum, there are a couple of high courts who are uploading their proceedings online, specifically Gujarat High Court. Okay, Ahmedabad High Court is doing that for sure, that I'm aware of. Maybe you want to check their proceedings, right? You want to see how are lawyers presenting themselves before the judges, right? So when you observe, when you acquaint yourself with the entire process, you'll exactly know, you'll pick cues from there, right? Specifically when you are observing a lot of people in the room, so you can adopt that. That might be helpful, right? Any other questions, anybody? It's probably on YouTube. You can check on the YouTube. I don't have the link with me currently, but you check on the YouTube. That's there, I believe. Gujarat High Court. All right. So any other questions, anybody so far? If there's anything, you can ask me. All right. In the meanwhile, I'm also going to touch base on the course that we offer at LawSikho for building your English communication skills. I would also like to mention that we are closing the batch for this month, right? I mean, we're closing the batch. 31st is the last date for enrollment. All right. So whoever is interested in enrolling can let us know. Manoj is saying that the course is very costly. I would in fact like to differ on this. The course is not very costly considering the amount of activities that are there in the course. Okay. Also, it's a 1 year long course wherein you also get placement assistance. So for the amount that you're paying, you're getting a lot of things. You're getting placement assistance. It's an year-long course. You can also pay. So if someone's not comfortable paying the whole amount at once, you can also pay it in parts. Okay, you can make the first installment and then go on. Like you can pay. There is no interest that will be charged. Okay, so you can take the EMI option as well. That's also there, Manoj. So if you think paying 50 grands together at one go is difficult, then maybe you can opt for the other option. Okay, besides that, we feel something is very costly when we don't find value in it. Okay, I mean, see, if I will, we all invest money at different things, and that is entirely dependent on the kind of value that we see in that particular thing, right? So if you think that the course will not help you, will not make you better at client communication, or will not tell you the techniques of how to communicate in the courtroom, or will not improve your writing skills, oral communication skills, grammar, then of course you will feel that it is very expensive. Okay, we are able to invest money in things that we find value in, no matter the amount. So I think if your objective is clear as to why, so knowing your why is very important. I think I've mentioned this before also in my conversations. If your why is clear, why do you want to take this course? Why do you want to, what is the next level that you want to unlock for yourself? Okay, so let's say currently you're good at your communication skills, but maybe you're not efficient when it comes to speaking before your seniors, or you're not efficient before arguing at a high court, or you think that you're not efficient in handling a client negotiation all by yourself. If those are the challenges that you're facing, then maybe you would like to enroll yourself in the course. Okay, I'll just quickly run you through the different activities that are there in the course. In the meanwhile, I'll just take a couple of questions. How can we keep a check on our tone while conversing with higher authorities? Example, senior lawyers. Okay, so I think that would probably mean that sometimes when you're speaking with a senior person, probably you're getting very aggressive. Is that what happens? Just to get a more clarification on your questions, the another one is how to enhance British English as verbal communication, and how to practice it alone. So for practicing it alone, what you can do is you can probably start recording videos. So whatever is your practice area, maybe you want to pick any law. Like let's say, for instance, you want to make a video on how to file an FIR. You can make a video of yourself and just replay the video. So most of the time when probably you'll be doing these exercises by yourself, right, you want to record yourself, okay, and see how is your tone, how is your communication flowing, what are the gaps that you can observe. You can also take feedbacks from others, because when we are looking at our own performance, we look at it with certain bias, right? And also it's limited perception. So maybe you want others also to look at your videos, and then you can figure out what are the major mistakes that you're making. Okay, so probably let's say you want to talk on how to file an FIR. Prepare yourself, okay, prepare yourself as if you have to deliver this to a massive audience, and then just record a video of yourself with no notes, okay, no reference material at hand. Just speak whatever comes to your mind, of course after doing your preparation, so that the points that you're making are coherent, right, and there's a flow in your delivery. And while doing this, you record yourself and watch your recording then, and see what are the gaps. Were you able to speak efficiently, or there were gaps in between? Like for instance, you were not able to recall, so maybe you were saying A and then you had to move on B. Maybe you were not able to recall that. Was there a problem with your pronunciation when you were speaking about particular words, right? Or did you find it difficult to communicate, explain a particular concept? So when you listen to yourself, you'll always get insights as to how you can do it better also. So you remember when I was speaking about preparation, that how, so whatever you're doing, I mean, appearing before the judge, or you handling a client negotiation, if you prepare yourself and then you test yourself, right, you assess yourself, it will quickly give you insights on how to be better. It will instantly tell you that maybe I can maybe I can include an example here, and I think the explanation will be better that way. So you'll identify the gaps. So I think this should help you, that probably you can record yourself. And Lokendra, with respect to British English, most of us speak British English only. All right, it's more with the pronunciation. All right, so if you're confused with certain pronunciations, you can check them online, check for the British pronunciation for that word, and then follow that pronunciation. I think it's hardly for any words that we use American pronunciation, right? I hope that answers your questions, Lokendra. Okay. So how much time we should give to improve our communication skills? Now, this is entirely dependent upon your proficiency level. So to identify how much time you will have to devote in, you will have to identify at what level you are, what is that you want to achieve, and how fast. Okay. Ideally, in my opinion, you should invest in your communications every day. So probably you can split it during the day. Okay, probably like for instance, in the morning, you're doing some reading activity. Then during the day, maybe you're listening to a podcast or anything of your choice, news item, anything. Then maybe in the evening, you're spending some time writing, reflecting on your day, or maybe writing a post about a particular law that you would want to explain to your community, or maybe anything, an article, anything, writing. So by doing all of these different bunch of activities, I think at least 1 hour a day, because see, understand, you will not find the value of that 1 hour in a day for your communication if you do not see the value in the long run, like, you know, how to be successful, what is the role of the communication skills. If you're able to understand that role, you'll be able to invest in more hours, right? Similarly, the way we do for understanding law better. So if I want to understand law better, if I want to get better at, let's say, contracts law, I will be studying that law again and again, over and over again. I would want to read more about the updates. I would want to constantly experiment with it, right? I would want to read every new judgment that is delivered. I want to look at different kind of contracts. I want to see how are these different contracts negotiated, what are the important clauses, what are the essential elements, right? So if you want to get better at your communication skills, again, involve everything, involve writing, listening, speaking, and then do all those activities alternatively or together at different instances during the day. And in totality, I think you can give 1 hour to 2 hours depending upon your schedule. All right, I hope that answers your question. Okay, and largely it would be dependent upon what is the goal that you're looking to achieve and in how much time. Okay, you'll have to do a lot of self-assessment for that. I'm quickly doing my screen share, all right, and I'll just run you through the different activities that we offer as a part of the course. So this is the course that I was talking about, and the batch is closing in 5 days. So if any one of you who is interested in enrolling for the course, okay, there's also an option of EMI, as I mentioned. All right, so this is my number. You can reach out to me. We are closing the batch. So you can follow the instructions in the email, all right? So in the email, there's a bunch of instructions that must be given to you. You can follow those instructions. All right. Oh, currently we are not organizing any moot court competitions, but soon we are planning to do that as well. So I think very soon we should have that as well. But here, if you look at this course, all right, so here are a bunch of activities that are given to our students every week. Those are kept in mind looking at grammar skills. Okay, so if somebody who wants to get better at their grammar, be it with respect to understanding tenses, understanding active voice, passive voice, complex sentence structuring, all of that is covered, right? When to use question tags, right? Linking of devices of contrast, all of that is covered here. Then we also focus on various activities that are with respect to your listening abilities. Like, for instance, how do you speak to a police officer? How do you gather information from a client, right? How do you brief a senior lawyer, right? How do you negotiate a non-disclosure agreement? How do you negotiate an employment agreement, co-founders agreement? What are the key skills that you need to keep in mind while negotiating? All of that is covered as a part of different exercises, right? So first is grammar. We are working on your grammar throughout the course. Okay, in different weeks, we are covering different exercises. We are also working on your listening skills. So for every week, there is a different exercise again. Then we are again working on your writing. Okay, so there will be a bunch of activities that you will be given to work on, right? Probably. So, and all of this is done in context of keeping in mind the mind that, you're probably doing it as a lawyer. So that's the essence of it, right? A bunch of activities. Then we'll also be working on how to draft notices for a breach, how to draft a reply to a legal notice, how do you contract to negotiate, how to write a police complaint. So these are the documents that we will be using for training you guys, okay? Bail application, CV writing, statement of claims, defendant suit, moot memos, arbitration notice, conciliation order, right? All of this is covered in the course. And I'm sharing the link of this also here with you guys, okay, in the chat box. I'm also putting my number so that you can reach out to me in case you want to enroll in the course. All right. And there's an EMI option available, as I mentioned. So that shouldn't be a problem. All right. So I think that was it from my end. I hope you had a good time in today's session. I would love to get your feedback, whatever you think about the session today. Good, bad, interesting. And you can also share what's the most important thing that you learned from today's session. You can share it in the chat box with me. Thank you so much. Anyone, what would be your biggest takeaway from this session today? If at all there was, and I hope that there was a takeaway from this session, you can just put it in the chat box. Thank you so much, everybody. So for availing the e-certificates, you must have received an email, okay, which had the link for. Just read that email. In that email, there are instructions given that you have to follow for getting the certificate. You can just do that. All right. All right, Sarjan. Yes, definitely. That's also there in the course, Manoj. I think I'll just sign off now. Thank you so much for joining in. If you have further questions, Manoj, if there's more that you would want to discuss on the course, my number is there. You can reach out to me. All right. Thank you so much for joining in, everybody.